Hi, I'm Ganesh Natarajan, BIT Mesra 1973 batch, now living in Pune, and looking forward to speaking at the BITOSA event on the 12th of September, which is on building careers beyond COVID. I genuinely believe BIT has given us the ability to withstand any shocks, any pandemics, and we just need to recommit ourselves to seeing what is the best use of our talents going forward. Look forward.
Hello, I am Banerjee from Kolkata. Greetings to all of you. I am from Armed Forces Medical College, AFMC Pune, 1985 batch. In AFMC, the batches are designated as per alphabet, so I am from X batch. I am working as a clinical gastroenterologist and medical teacher in a tertiary care hospital in Kolkata. It's my proud privilege to be invited to participate in this webinar organized by Birla Institute of Technology World Students Association, Pune. I look forward to have a great interactive sessions with all of you on changing career prospects and business in COVID times.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Naveen Sharma. I am from Pharm 89 batch and I'm from 93 batch of BIT. I'm looking forward to interact with you on the 12th of September on the webinar organized by BITOSA Pune chapter. It'll be it's an interaction where I expect to share our experiences and learn from you all on this place, in this new normal, on the pandemic, how we are going to overcome, how we're going to move forward in terms of business and career opportunities. I believe it's an opportunity for us to and a new future. Looking forward to talk to you and see you all. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Bomi Bhote from the 69 batch Mechanical Engineering, now running for the last 25 years an 800-bedded hospital chain in the city of Pune. I really look forward to interacting with all of you on the 12th on the webinar on opportunities created by COVID.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to this webinar by BITOSA Pune in association with BITOSA Global. Today's discussion is on navigating careers and businesses in COVID times. My name is Sneha Ranjan, and I am from the Mechanical 2K6 batch. I live in Pune and work as a marketing head at Zensar. I have really been looking forward to today's event. Before we start, I would like us to be taken through some general pointers. We are recording this webinar and it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel and will be shared on our Facebook page. You can go onto Facebook and just search for BITOSA. Please like it in case you already haven't. The YouTube channel is also by the name BITOSA Global. Please subscribe to it and get all our past and future webinar recordings on it. You can take a screenshot or capture a part of this webinar and share it within your social network. Please don't forget to tag BITOSA Global and BITOSA Pune while doing so. Most of you have already submitted your questions before. We will take up the question and answer after the main session. Should you have any live questions, you can simply type in your questions with your name and batch on the chat section of the Zoom meeting. Now that the general aspects are sorted, I will hand over to one of our senior team members from the batch of 1980. Mr. Arup Zucchi, who is the Global President and Managing Partner at Frost & Sullivan and the President of BITOSA Silicon Valley chapter. He's also in the Board of Governors of our college, BIT Mesra. Over to you, Arup, sir.
Thank you very much, Sneha. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this very, very exciting session. I'm personally very excited to be part of this. And on behalf of BITOSA Global, I would like to welcome you all. I hope all of you and your families are doing well. As we all know, these are very, very challenging times. And as Dr. Ganesh Natarajan mentioned, we are all part of this BIT family. And I think we're all well trained and hopefully we'll all be able to handle this challenging situation. So today's session, which is on careers as well as on managing your businesses in COVID times is one of the most appropriate sessions that our very own chapter, BITOSA Pune, has put together. So we are very excited about having this session today. Just a little bit background on BITOSA Global for all of you. Since its inception, BITOSA Global is an alumni that is driven by our alumni. It has grown from strength to strength. Today we have more than 27,000 members, 27,000 BITOSA alumni members spread all across the world in almost 5 out of the 6 continents. And I can tell you all of them are doing very well and are very engaged with our community. So very excited about that. Besides running, of course, such webinars, we have also supported our alumni in a variety of different ways, including career planning, entrepreneurship support, immigration support, to just name a few. So with that, I would like to welcome you all. I want to thank all the organizers who have spent tireless hours putting this program together. And I would love to introduce to you our very own illustrious BITOSA alumni, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan. So it is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Ganesh Natarajan. And with that, Dr. Ganesh, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arup. And as Arup said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's my absolute pleasure to be here. I remember about 10 years ago, Harvard Business School had its centennial, and I was invited to Boston because the 4th of my qualifications was actually at Harvard Business School. And I was asked the obvious question saying that, look, you've been through a place called BIT Ranchi, then MITI in Bombay, then IIT Bombay for my PhD, and then Harvard Business School. And they asked me, look, which is the most exciting educational institution you've been to, and where did you learn the most? Well, obviously, I should have been politically correct and said Harvard Business School. But I thought back and I said, let me say the truth. And I absolutely said BIT Mesra. And the reason is very simple. It's the formative years of all of us. I mean, I spent, in those days, it was 5 years, not 4 years. So I spent 5 years of an amazing period. I think people like Bomi were just about beginning to pass out, but we had the Jayaprakash Narayan movement. We had all kinds of interesting times on the campus. And most important, I think it gave us the resilience to cope with unexpected times. And I think today when we look at COVID, post-COVID, a lot of us are working on what we call relief to recovery to resilience. I think the training we have received in BIT Mesra prepares us for the unexpected. I mean, I remember when I started my career in 1981, after doing my postgraduate in industrial engineering, I spent my first 3 years in manufacturing. After that, migrated to information technology, joined a company called NIIT, got my first CEO opportunity when I was 32 years old, when I got the opportunity to be the CEO of this company called Aptech for 10 years. Then moved to Pune, where I took over as CEO of Zensar. And I'm delighted that after I left, another BITN, Sneha, has joined. And I'm sure she will sooner or later be the CEO of Zensar, because that is the destiny of everybody who passes out of BIT. And after that, I've been doing work as an entrepreneur. We've invested in 9 companies. We have a large social innovation initiative in Pune as well as all India. And we also participate in skills. Now, I really believe, changing from manufacturing to consulting to education to information technology to what I do today, which is investing, would not have been possible without that background. And the reason I'm mentioning this at the beginning of this session is that we are talking about careers post-COVID. My favorite author, and I hope many of you have read him, is a gentleman called Yuval Noah Harari. Harari wrote this amazing book called Homo Deus. And Homo Deus is what he calls the history of the next 100 years. And Harari very rightly says that each one of us in our careers, every 15 years, will have to learn new skills, either because of the opportunity or because there's a problem. And if you're not prepared to reskill yourself, look at completely different career opportunities, you're probably going to miss out. And I think there are 2 defining events that are happening as we speak. One is, of course, COVID. I mean, COVID has blasted the economy worldwide as well as, of course, in India, beyond all recognition. At least in India, we are nowhere near flattening the curve, nowhere near the end of the road, and our experts will talk a little bit about that. But what is most important is we've also seen the extraordinary rise of digital technologies. So irrespective of where you are, whether you're in manufacturing, agriculture, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and we'll hear a few of the, or government services, I think digital has enabled you to work from home. It has enabled you to build a career. Many of us, I mean, none of my companies have even stopped for a day with COVID because we've just seamlessly moved to working from home, working from anywhere, all that is beginning to happen. So what does that mean? It means there are going to be multiple career opportunities, may not be the same that you were prepared for when you graduated from BIT Mesra, maybe completely different, but cyber physical. I mean, today, if you look at manufacturing, most of manufacturing is done through robotics, flexible manufacturing systems, manufacturing execution systems, artificial intelligence, et cetera, et cetera. And you need to be prepared for that. If you look at a very big project that I've been involved in with the government of India, which is Digital India 2025 is going to be $1 trillion economy. And if Prime Minister Modi's aspirations are going to come true, and we'll be, let's say, a $5 trillion economy, whether it's in 2024 or 2029, doesn't matter. But $1 trillion out of that will come from the digital economy. And most of you would have already heard about the India stack, which is, including what they call the JAM Trinity, which is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and mobility. But the India stack is a completely new model of financial services, which is hitting all of us. I'm on the board of State Bank of India, and we see the kind of use of digital, which we would not have imagined 2 years back. And similarly, I mean, if you look at virtually anything in India, as I said, government services, you look at education, the new national education policy will completely transform education and will see corporates, social sector, technology, all working together to make technology happen. And I maybe talk about it a little bit later as we go along. But what is probably the most exciting opportunity for us is health tech. And many of you who have been trained in pharmacy should actually be very happy about that. But even all of us, I think the opportunity to say that, look, I have a core skill. It could be mechanical engineering, it could be electronics, it could be computer science, it doesn't matter. But I have the engineering discipline to say, let me look for new career opportunities and let me make it happen. So with those words, I think I will dive straight into the panelists. The way we're going to structure the session is, we're going to take about maybe 4 to 5 minutes each panelist. And I've requested each one of them to talk about their profession, what they do, and what they think are the career opportunities today. And going forward, if they do crystal ball gazing, what's the opportunity? And after that, I will just maybe sum up with a few opportunities that I see in my vantage position as an investor in technology. And then at 10 o'clock sharp, we'll try and throw it open for questions and answers, which we'll take forward. So I think that's the broad plan. So let me first start with our guest, who is not from BIT Mesra, Colonel Banerjee. As you heard from his introduction, he's an alumnus of the Armed Forces Medical College, Pune, one of our most prestigious medical institutions, and the All India Institute of Management Services. Currently a renowned gastroenterologist based in Kolkata, and he has actually served in the Department of Gastroenterology in the Eastern Command and various places. So Colonel Banerjee, tell us, what do you think, sir, about the current COVID situation? What do you see are the challenges and the opportunities?
Thank you for the kind introduction, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, sir. And thank you for the invitation, BITOSA Pune, particularly Mr. Gautam Haldar and Madam Neha Vatsala. It's a proud privilege for me, an AFM site, to talk on something which is totally different from my career and in a forum which is totally different from my college. Greetings from Kolkata. So, talking about navigating careers and business in COVID times. So we have all seen the changes. The changes are so painful, and as a clinician who is working with the patients in the casualty, in the emergencies, in the ward, or in the OT, I can see the pain and the suffering of the patients and their relatives, and how our profession has to change. Things which have been taught over centuries are changing overnight. So when we see a patient, when you try and diagnose a patient, we follow a system, a schema. And the schema involves talking to the patient in depth, taking the history in detail. Thereafter comes the physical examination. And the physical examination, we examine, or we use all our senses. We look at the patient and we feel the patient, that's called palpation. We hear the various sounds, heart sound, sounds from the chest, breathing sounds, and the abdominal sound, the intestinal sounds. And thereafter, we subject the patients to various investigations. So when the COVID pandemic hit India, so in mid-March 2020, all of a sudden, we were told, stay away from the patient. It was a surprising fact. What do you mean by staying away from the patient? So we were told, take the history standing at least 6 feet away. Examine when necessary, otherwise don't examine. So we followed this practice for a month or so, and we realized we were missing a whole lot of patients. The caring touch of the doctor was missing. The feeling the pulse was missing. And we were dependent heavily on ECG, X-ray, ultrasound, CT scan, blood test, and we felt we were missing. So what's the solution? The solution comes in amalgamating the field. We have to examine the patient. We are the frontline workers. We have to touch the patient, whether with wearing gloves, whether we have to use sanitizers, whether we have to wash the hands after seeing every patient, whether our hands start looking like a woman's. We have to do that. There's no running away from this. So every frontline worker, every doctor who is working in the casualty, in the ward, in the OT, has to do this. And yes, we have to take precaution. But that doesn't mean running away from the patient, running away from the history, running away from the physical information. The second most important part which we faced was the missing on the golden hour. We all have heard, stitch in time saves 9. So what happens? We all know when a patient reaches the emergency after a heart attack or a brain stroke or an injury, whether a road traffic accident, whether an industrial injury or a gunshot injury in the war fronts, if the patient reaches on time, the limb and the life salvage procedures can be done. In fact, in heart attack, which we call it acute myocardial infarction, there is a door to needle time that within 60 minutes, the moment the patient reaches the date of the hospital, we have to start the procedure of coronary angiogram. But how does the patient reach within golden hour? The transportation is not available. The ambulance people are asked hundreds of questions, whether the patient is suffering from fever or not having fever. And then when you reach the date of the hospital, again your temperature is asked, the patient is subjected to filling up a trust questionnaire, and the process continues. So at every place, there is a delay. So we saw delay in diagnosis of cancer. We saw delay in treatment of heart attack or acute MI. We saw delay in everything. So in the result was really bad. So we had more complications. We had less survival, and patients who survived lived with disability, and the treatment cost went up. So this has to change. This has to change with collaboration by the ambulance. Today only, I believe Supreme Court has passed an order that ambulance fees has to be uniform across the country. The third most important part, which I felt as a teacher, is hands-on training is suffering, particularly in fields where one cannot learn from the books. A medical student has to touch the patient, see the patient, examine the patient, do the procedures, give injections, do the surgeries, do endoscopies. So what happens in clinical fields? The teaching is done, it's called mentoring. It's one-to-one teaching. And the mentor many times holds the hands of the student to teach. Our teachers have taught us how to feel the tummy and how much pressure to put on the tummy, so that the patient doesn't feel the pain, as well as we can examine, we can feel the organs, various organ systems. So where is that training gone? Most of the training is being done through web. So how can we do hands-on training? This is suffering. This is really, really suffering.
Banerjee, can you conclude, please?
Yeah, just one. So the aim is to connect, accommodate, and collaborate. We have to connect the smaller towns, the doctors in smaller towns, accommodate, shed our ego, and collaborate. We have seen Lal Path Lab collaborating and increasing. We have seen GeoMart collaborating with Kirana stores and accommodating. So that is the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Banerjee. I think that was very, very succinct and what we really wanted to know. And you're absolutely right. I mean, 3 days back, we had a scare because the lady who works in our house, her mother had COVID. And our first reaction was, oh my God, we have to go to a testing center, etc. And we found that exactly the entity you mentioned, the Lal pathological laboratories, they have such a convenient way of home testing. Within 24 hours, you get your antibody results, your COVID results. So I think people are really adapting to the change, which is, I think, the whole theme. That it, as you rightly said, medical training cannot be done without somebody pressing the body. But at the same time, how are people adapting? So with that, let's move to the pharmaceutical segment. And I think we have Naveen, who's a B Pharm and M Pharm from BIT Mesra. And after that, of course, he's done management from IIM Ahmedabad, and then 25 years of experience working with top MNCs. So Naveen, what do you think? What is your reading of the situation, and what is your advice to students?
Thank you, Ganesh. Thanks to BITOSA for giving this opportunity. Special thanks. I see my two professors here, so I hope I live up to their standard, what they taught me. Hello to everyone. I'll just take a little bit different way of getting it down. I'll just take a pre-COVID and a post-COVID, how the paradigms have shifted in the pharma industry. So pre-COVID, the first lockdown came March. Typically, pharma industry, we are all on the April-March, fiscal cycle. So we were very clear, 22nd March, we have a 21-day lockout. We knew what our targets were. We were all set to, give our numbers to our bosses and make sure that we are on target. It didn't matter to us because you all have stocks of our, our raw materials. We were just looking at how do we take the delay of 20 days to explain to our, our clients or the market. That's what we were looking at. The extension went up 3rd May. Set a few cats running here and there. We're just looking at it. Okay, so we need to now extend it. The challenge came when we got that this is now going to run long, June. And that's where I think we needed to grow. We realized that this first quarter of our fiscal year is gone. You need to recalibrate numbers. And there was no precedence, there was no SOPs, no experience about dealing about it. People were just looking at it and saying, okay, now we work at 50% capacity. You'll have people who are coming from, the containment zones. How do you get it? And pharma typically was more of, in India at least, everyone is hands-on. Everyone has to be in the office. Everyone has to be working. We were set up in that way. And I think the first paradigm came from there, that when we looked at our business continuity plans, you realize that what you could do in Ahmedabad was not possible in Mumbai or Pune, because each city was dealing with this situation, in a unique way. So you could not have one shirt that fits all. So as an organization, if you have multiple centers, you could not have one SOP that worked on. And I think that was the first paradigm that pharma industry, which typically works as a very rigid organization, as a thing because of the SOPs and regulations, had to become flexible to accept changes which are, local, and still live within the regulatory framework. I think the second paradigm, and I think that's where I think most of the pharma will change, is work from home concept, which we used to hear in IT and, even in pharma, a few data management and the, the monitors. But here suddenly we realized that people who are not actually on hands-on operations could actually go from work from home. It did give us challenges, and we are still fighting because, simple things in India that, nice to hear Ganesh sir say that we're going digital in India, but people in the lockdown period could not have broadbands, and we were not prepared for it. So this is the change that we're trying to do, is get people on broadband. The second thing is pharma industry was so close that, we had this data integrity as a big topic, and most of you must be hearing it, is that when we didn't ask our servers to be open to public, and here you have people coming in from the public networks into our servers to get data. So that was the second part. And that, I think, is an opportunity where pharma is going to work with IT in a very big way. This is the place that today, the industry today understands, and if pharma can integrate with IT, you get a small company like us, we're doing a lot of bespoke softwares, We're trying to go digital, the SAPs and all those are big things. We look at all those models, those don't work for us. So we're trying to go and make our own customized software. And I think that's where the pharma is going to get into moving ahead in the next 2 to 3 years, where with IT and pharma. Yeah, there was a joke which went on, I think on the WhatsApp, it said, it's not the CEO or the CFO that decided that you become digital, it's the COVID that made you digital. And I think that's true for pharma, actually, in India, because we were just doing what basically was needed, but I think now everything will go digital. We want people to, have less interaction on paper. We want it to be fast. Yes, there are challenges, and typically in India, what people say is, how do you map a person, the performance of the person? How do I know he's working at home? These are the initial fears that we are going to overcome. But I think slowly, and the thing is that we will be digital IT. The second part, I think, is where we are going to see a lot of work is, it's slow at this moment of time. I understand people are not raising capexes, not doing expenditure. They're holding back, the industry is holding back because of the uncertainty of really should we go ahead or no. But I think is when our dependency on China will reduce and you will see a lot of API manufacturing happening up here. Companies have started expanding, we hear that. And especially for the newcomers, I have seen that there's an anxiety among them because the hiring at this moment of time is slightly slower. But just keep your heart placed. It will open up. We're going to see this bump up once, I think we'll overcome the fear of this COVID, vaccine or no vaccine. I think at some stage we will have to make it work. We need to get the economy in shape. We need to, start working. You just can't keep sitting. So you will see expansion. And I think one of the places where India will really start expanding is on the APIs, on the excipients, on the intermediates. You will see a lot of things coming in, and that's where chemistry comes in. As Ganesh said, even a small companies, they're looking at AI. How do I look at my data? What kind of things am I seeing? We've seen sponsors now do remote, what we call as desktop audits. Previously, they would send 3 auditors for 3 days sitting on your head, trying to do, now it's all desktop. It's all, they're looking at data across. So I think the future is just going to be pharma and IT merge, working hands on hand. You will have to, we may be behind by the US one or not, I would say North American sites, but I think in the next 5 years, it's if you can really expand taking pharma and IT together, there's no one stopping us, I think. That's my take on this part. Yes, it's going to be a bumpy ride. You're going to see some ups and downs because it's uncertainty. We do not have. I think the good part in pharma at least is you have the FDA or the EMA coming up and giving us regulations of how do we handle situations. Like for us a trial, when we run a clinical trial today, and Bomi sir would be there, he would tell you, telemedicine was like 20%. Today, every doctor's on telemedicine. So then my patients, I don't want them to come to the hospital. I'm looking at how do I connect with them. Give them an Android. I have an app there. I map them there. So I don't even have them to come into the hospitals. That's where I think the integration with IT and pharma is going to be leading the future. That's my take for this place. And I'll stop the monologue here. I'll wait for more dialogues and then we're going to take it from there.
So Naveen, let me put you on the spot and say that this week AstraZeneca has had a setback, and my friend Adar Poonawalla, who was hopeful to inundate India with the vaccine by November, December, I think he's also a little worried. So what do you think? What is your best guess on when we will see this great vaccine?
So I think Ganesh sir, you need to check the news of one hour back. UK has allowed him to go ahead with the trial. So AstraZeneca is back. So okay, Adar will still make his money. But when? But honestly, I don't think before December. That's my take on it. That's what I would look, because they are ahead in phase 3. The Indians a little bit, but you never know. Phase 2 completed, maybe as emergency, people pick it up. But not before Diwali at least.
Good, you're an optimist. I was thinking March. That's nice. Okay, so let me move to my friend Bomi Bhote. Bomi, of course, needs no introduction to people in Pune, because what he has done in 25 years, he has made Ruby Hall probably the best known. And not only is best known for medical care and everything else, I think the big advantage is that he's also been a fantastic CEO, what we all aspire to be. And it's almost inevitably the best place to work, which is Ruby Hall. So Bomi, all yours, sir.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thanks for those very kind words. I'll just give you a short background of me. I passed out in 75, joined Telco, did 15, 16 years hospital, what's called Tata Motors today. Did about 16 years there, then joined General Electric, 8 years there, and then I have taken over our own hospital, Ruby Hall Clinic, which is an 800-bedded hospital. Now, the transition that has happened from being an engineer to running a hospital is phenomenal. And believe me, it's the sixth sense and the guts that BIT taught me is the only thing that has taken me to where I am. Today, for the last 25 years, I've been running this institute. I've grown it from 150 to 200 beds to 800 beds. I've got 2,500 people working here. And believe me, I'm able to manage and handle all this only because the grounding that we got in BIT. And I'm ever so grateful for it. You know, BIT really taught us how to be street smart. Let's put it that way. They really taught us how to be street smart and how to make the right move. Okay, now let me come down to the main topic that we're talking about. See, I'm a person who always says, and every day I tell my people, you're sitting on an island of opportunity. Always look at everything as an opportunity. Whatever it is, there's always an opportunity for doing something new, right? COVID has been an opportunity. Now in the healthcare sphere from where I am today, I'll tell you what, 21st March when COVID hit India and hit Pune, we fell from 800 beds occupancy to 120 beds occupancy. Can you imagine my plight? I really didn't know what to do. Overnight, people disappeared. The hospital was empty. Nobody would even enter a hospital. It was that bad. I mean, the fear factor was really that bad. Now, I was tackling problems about the customers. I was tackling problems with patients who needed medical care, but did not want or was scared to come in. I was tackling problems with our staff. I was tackling problems with our doctors. And it was very much like in the front, how a soldier is told, go and fight and shoot on the front. And the guy giving the command very well knows tomorrow this guy may not come back. It's like that. So here for me also, we had the same problem. Every day, I tell you, COVID has been a bigger psychological problem than a medical problem. I've always said that it's been more of a psychological problem than a medical problem. You see, the fear factor that has come into people is what is really scared the shit out of everybody. People are more scared of COVID than anything else, not because of the disease, because of the fear factor. Now, what has COVID thrown up is one thing that you must look at. I mean, I have always been an optimist. I've always looked at the positive side of things. And like first day, I told my people the same thing. Come on now, we're going to learn how to live with COVID and we're going to learn how to live with life after COVID. It's there to stay, like it or not. But we have to learn how to live life with COVID. Now, look at a thing like Zoom. We hardly ever used it. Today, we are using Zoom every single day. See the opportunities that have come up. See the opportunities in digitizing that have come up. Today, earlier, we had papers and documents and files and things like that moving from here to there. Today, everything is digital. Why? Because people are scared to touch files. It's not because of the need for digitizing, but the fear factor of touching files, touching papers, touching records has forced everybody to go into digitization. Now, you look at this thing, work from home concept, if you see. It's something completely new. How long it will be workable, how successful it will be, is something we need to really look and see, because work from home concept in America and India are very, very different. India, you have small homes, you have big families, you're working on home, and you've got kids running around, you've got chores, old elderly parents needing your attention. You have all kinds of distractions that happen over here. It's quite different. So I really don't know whether this work from home concept will really carry on much further. Today we are doing it because we have no choice. Let me be very clear, we have no choice to do it, okay? But the average Indian does not live in these big houses where he has a separate office where he can keep dedicated without distance and work from home. So that's going to be another big problem. That's, I don't know whether this opportunity will really pan out further. Now look at this way. I've already acquired one hotel, because now what has happened is, I told you the stage where in the month of March, April, from 800 beds, I went down to 150 beds. Today, I am bursting at my seams. I can't manage with my own capacity. In suddenly few months, the way it has gone, and you all know Pune is the #1 city as far as COVID is concerned. I've already acquired 2 hotels which I've converted into hospitals. So again, look at how you grab an opportunity. Nobody ever thought that you could take a hotel and convert it into a hospital, right? Because I know this thing is going to be there, it's going to grow, it's going to expand, and it's going to be there at least for 3 to 6 months. And like I keep telling everybody, island of opportunity concept, you must grab the opportunity when it is there today. Tomorrow it will not be there. All of you must look at grabbing the opportunity today, tapping it, milking the cow today, because the cow will be dry tomorrow.
So we went ahead, we acquired one hotel. Now we have acquired the Crown Plaza Hotel also. So we are trying to find ways and means of meeting the demand of the market. I'm again talking to you from both the areas. We definitely want to treat more people. We want to cure more people. We want to expand our business at the same time. I mean, anybody else would have just sat down and said, oh, the whole bloody world has gone upside down. My hospital suddenly became vacant. What do I do? No, that's not the way out. You have to stand up and fight. Now, look at the way the government has been treating hospitals across the country. They've been extremely unfair as far as hospitals are concerned. They brought in funny caps on pricing. They brought in kind of 80% of the hospital is acquired for COVID. Now tell me.
Only one more minute.
Pardon?
One more minute.
Pardon?
One more minute.
So, okay. So I'll tell you, if 80% of the hospital is acquired for COVID, how the hell do you meet the financial needs of this thing? So you have to, what I'm trying to tell you is you all have to find innovative ways and means and find solutions to it. Opportunities are always there in all kinds of areas. We have to tap into those areas, find those areas and milk the cow, like I said. Yeah, that's it. I'm meeting your time frame, Ganesh.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
go on, of course.
No, we'll come back to you. I think there's a very interesting
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm one of the few people who completely agree with what you said about this work from home. I mean, I have a lot of friends in the IT industry who say that, look, out of 47 lakh people working in IT, 27 lakh will permanently work from home. I think that would be disaster. It would be disaster because our homes are not engineered for, let's say, husband, wife with 2 kids and maybe a couple of parents. It's just not possible. Not in Bombay, not in Bangalore, not in Delhi. So I think we have to understand that, yes, like state decides that, look, anybody who needs to work from home because something is not happening should be enabled. So we're actually making all the technology for that. But anybody should be able to come to office as well. So for people who think a little cheap and say, oh, now let's get rid of our office space. Unfortunately, many of my friends who are in IT looking at, I think that's completely unacceptable. But let's just conclude this part by saying that, look, there are 3 opportunities I would like all of you to look at. One is entrepreneurial opportunities. I mean, why would you worry? Why would you not reach out, make companies happen, even work from home? I mean, there are builders who are now looking at specific home office enabled furniture, new opportunities, etc. So for anybody who's in architecture or design, etc., I think it's a huge opportunity today. Second is, of course, the distribution of jobs. All of you heard about the whole migrant worker crisis. So many people went back to Assam and Bihar and Jharkhand and so many places. They couldn't find jobs there. One of the big things we envisaged in Digital India is how can you create employment exchanges digitally in every district, every part of the country. And if you look at maybe the 650,000 villages and the 250,000 gram panchayats, the opportunity of creating jobs there is immense. In fact, I currently mentor an entity called PARFI, it's Pan IIT Reach for India. And one of PARFI's biggest success stories is the town where we all studied. I mean, right in Ranchi, they have a joint venture with the government of Jharkhand. And if you go to Bundu, which is between Ranchi and Jamshedpur, if some of you may have stopped for chai there, you'll find that, look, there is a wonderful center which is run by an ex-army man, and they're really producing people for the manufacturing industry. In multiple locations in Jharkhand, they have nursing academies. I remember, very close to Ranchi, about maybe 20 minutes drive. They took me there last time I went to Ranchi. And I actually was in front of a class of 40 girls, all from tribal areas of Ranchi. And because of my 5 years in BIT Mesra, I thought I know Bhojpuri very well. So I said, so the girl laughed at me. She's a little young girl and said, look, sir, we speak 40 different languages. Bhojpuri to bas ek hi to cheez hai usme. And I was amazed. I asked each one of them to introduce themselves in their dialect. Ununderstandable. This is the state we come from. Do you even know about it? So look at the opportunities. I'm saying the opportunities for distributed jobs will be enormous. And finally, let me answer one question which somebody has asked me continuously on the chat line. Saying, what is the future of IT jobs? IT jobs will be there. But we did a big thing in NASSCOM where we talked about the future of jobs. And none of the traditional IT jobs, testing, software development, software maintenance, none of them is going to remain. It's going to be automated. Robotic process automation will take away. But the big jobs of the future are audio and visual skills. We were interviewing Eric, who's the CEO of Zoom, as all of you must be knowing, who are engineers. Zoom's market capitalization crossed IBM a few weeks back. That's the scale of video conferencing. And if you look at the kind of areas they're working on Zoom, he's saying that, look, within 3 years, when you're talking to somebody on Zoom and he's sipping a cup of coffee, you'll be able to smell his coffee. Can you imagine it? And he says, look, when somebody says something great and you want to do a high five and go and hug him, you will actually feel the person on a screen. Now, if you look at it, it sounds like science fiction, right? How much of science fiction has become reality? So my suggestion would be, there used to be a term in BIT when I was studying there called Hawabazi, okay, which was all about, generally talking about the air, about stuff that you know would never happen. But today's Hawabazi will be tomorrow's reality. So if you can be the Hawabazes of today, I think you might find that you're the success stories and the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses and the Eric Jiongs of tomorrow. So I think don't despair, keep your mind open. There are phenomenal opportunities. And now over to my friend Sneha for the Q&A.
Ganesh, I've just got flash news. 15 days total lockdown, Pune, Pimpri, Chinchwad from Monday.
Oh my God, I hope it's another rumor. That's all I can say.
I've just got the flash news.
Oh my goodness. Okay, anyway, we'll see how it goes. Yes, yeah, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights, and all the panelists. It's been very, very engaging for all of us. And you can see that with the kind of questions that are pouring in on our chat section. We'll start with the question answer round. And, we received some 300 odd questions for the webinar. And while we might not be able to take a look at all of them, what we've tried to do is club them together so that most of the questions get answered. So the first question is directed to Dr. Banerjee. This is a question from Piyush Patil. How has the hands-on training for PG students, particularly in surgical fields, been affected? And what has been its effect on the overall healthcare system, sir?
So the hands-on training particularly actually suffers, the hands-on training particularly suffers because of as I mentioned, mentoring has to be done, one-to-one mentoring has to be done. And in surgical fields, what has happened is first of all, the surgery residents have been posted to COVID duties. They are not, many of them are not working in the surgical fields, and they're working as a medical officers in COVID duties. Second thing, the number of surgeries have gone down, and there is a general instruction to all of us to do the procedures as fast as possible. So to do the procedure as fast as possible, the best possible surgeon has to take on that particular day, has to do the surgery. So the training really, really suffers. The 2018 to 21 batch who are now in the third year surgery residency will be the most sufferers, because the last year of training, actually they did the most hands-on training. So this is going to have long-term impact. I think they will need to have some retraining later on.
Sure, thanks. Thank you, sir. So just a follow-up question again from Faiz. Why is the mortality amongst healthcare workers, particularly amongst doctors, higher?
If you see the report from Deccan Herald of yesterday, the mortality rate among the healthcare workers is about 15 times the general population, and mortality rate of the doctors is about 17 times the general population in India. About 570 doctors have lost their lives. There are various reasons for that. One reason is the amount of exposure. The doctors, when they are working, particularly in emergencies, the amount of exposure is too much, the viral load, which you call. And second is the many doctors who are working, they're beyond their age of 50s and 60s. Many of them have comorbidities. They're working in their own hospitals, or the people are allowed to work till 65 in government hospitals and 70 in private medical colleges. And in private clinics, people work till very late age. So there are many, many old people who are working, and they have got this infection. So obviously the mortality is high. These are the two main reasons.
Sure. Bomi, sir, would you want to add to that? What is it that you're seeing when it comes to healthcare professionals and their mortality?
See, I'll tell you, the main thing to a large extent is discipline of following the 4 steps that are required. What happens is typically when people are so involved, one is, of course, the healthcare workers are exposed to a lot more patients all the time, and that is one aspect definitely. But what we had found is whenever and wherever these healthcare workers have had problems or had got COVID, It was mainly because they let their shields down. They would sit and chat together in a group, try to unwind a little bit, remove, not wear the mask, not be strict on all those things. That has been the main reason why it has been happening in the healthcare workers. Because see, after all, wearing a complete PPE kit, sitting for 8 hours and 10 hours is really, really very, very difficult to do. Okay? And then what happened is they take a little, become a little lax. Maybe they go to have a cup of tea, and wherein when drinking a cup of tea, you'll sit together, chat together, and you never know who turns out to be positive. The person turns out tomorrow to be positive, the whole group gets infected. That is what is the problem that has really been happening among the healthcare workers.
Sure. Thank you, sir. The next question would be for Naveen sir. Naveen sir, a lot of questions have come in, and I'm just going to call out the people who've asked those questions. It's Garima, it's Shubham, it's Runjun. So what people want to know is, what are the career opportunities that pharmacy will see in the coming 1 or 2 years? What are the hiring trends that you see in the pharmaceutical industry in the upcoming years?
I think, as I mentioned, one of the things that you're going to see is the opening up of a lot of the pharma for API and excipients and intermediates. So you will see a lot of people getting absorbed there. I think India comes with a very strong chemistry. And we were great. It's only China took us because of whatever pollution and whatever cheap thing. But now when people want to get out of the dependence of China, I think India will take a lot of lead there. So I think you will see a lot of opportunities coming up in that place, definitely. I think the second part, which is really going to be of interest in India, is going to be the vaccines. This Ganesh mentioned AstraZeneca and Oxford. But if you look at it, you have other companies from India which are working, and you will also see the interest for making a universal vaccine for future things. And I think there's going to be a lot of work there, and that's not going to come without technology. I think people are going to use a lot of AI. So India is going to get into looking at various receptors and looking at the targets which they can come up. So I think the next 5 years is going to be focused on those kind of work. So yes, at this point of time, honestly, the hirings are slow. And I think as Bomi sir said, it's more out of fear. So I think we're just holding back. But I mean, given the last 2 months, if you look at it, there has been a change. People are now looking at expansion. So my only suggestion to the people come out of college, yes, as Dr. Banerjee said, this year is tough for you. Don't lose heart. It's a time for you to take up an extra course. I mean, I would come back and say, there are a lot of extra certification courses, in patents, regulatory, which are available. It's worthwhile to do that because the industry looks for these kind of differentiating factors from the crowd. If you can have this is really going to be, your winning tool for getting into it. But there's a saying in which says that khana aur dawai hamesha chahiye hoga. So there's always going to be need for food and medicine. So definitely pharma is going to be there. I think we just need to look at the way we are going to grow is maybe from generics we'll get into a little bit more of innovation. So that's kind of the thing that I see people talk and get into it. So I think there will be enough jobs which come in, but not, I mean, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. You just can't open a factory overnight and say it's going to happen. It's going to take time, but yes, pharma will continue to grow. That's my take on it.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Just a follow-up question on that. What do you think will be the significance of doing a PhD research in pharmacy? And there's a very specific question that has come from Debashish Ghosh, who's from the 1994 batch of pharmacy. And his question is that, he spent a good amount of 25 years in super specialty oncology sales in the middle management tier. What are the next career options that he could look for? So yes, sir. First is the PhD and its relevance to pharmacy, and how do you see that going, and this sales in pharmacy?
See, again, a PhD, I would put back and say that you need to be, see, in India, I think what happens is we just get lost with our, when we do our PhDs, we want to get a job, start working. I think that focus should go on which kind of industry we're looking at. If you do a PhD and you come to a company like mine, which is a contract research, for me, I really don't look at a PhD for my kind of work. But if you go to a company which is doing basic research and you're doing, let's say, drug discovery or basic synthesis, those are the places where really people do well. Or even novel drug delivery systems. People look at those places for that part. And I think there is you should believe that you're doing it for that kind of your career. It should not be that I'm just doing a degree just because I want to finish off my PhD, have a doctorate, and then come and say that, oh, PhD karne se koi fayda nahi. That's what I've seen in a lot of people nowadays. I think you need to focus what you're looking at. But Debashish, I do not have an answer because 25 years, I don't know why he's looking for a change, what's in his mind. It will be a one-to-one question, but I think you need to get out of your comfort zone. And that's what I keep telling. If you get comfortable where you are, you tend to become lax. So I think you need to have that kind of a thing that you need to leave where you are. When you start feeling comfortable, it's time to get up and move on to a different thing. That's my personal take. So if Debashish wants to believe into that, there's opportunity. When we never taught, like Ganesh said, you're not born and you're taught, you learn on the job. So use that and use it. There's no harm starting off. I think the fear we have is after 25 years, if I move to a different thing, what happens to my experience at 25 years? That fear drives us from not doing this thing. So if you're out of your comfort zone, I think you'll succeed everywhere because that fear of failure would make you succeed. I think that's my take, which I tell people always.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Very insightful. We have a lot of questions on business value creation and startups. So I'll first direct it to Ganesh sir and then Bomi sir, you as well, because here's a question from Ashok Shukla. Sir has, his company and he have a lot of patents when it comes to commercializing PPE kits and a lot of healthcare equipments. So what Ashok Shukla has put for us is, who are the angels or VCs who would finance these, the safety and PPE kits? Almost all these technologies could be very useful in developing substantial employment during and post-COVID-19 era. And they have a very high earning potential as well, because most of the patents are protected for 20 years. So Ganesh sir, your views on this entire burgeoning industry around PPE kits and healthcare?
See, health tech, as I was saying earlier, I mean, there are three very strong. Fintech, of course, has been always very, very strong. And financial services are changing literally every year. So that's going to be continuing to be strong. EdTech, because of work from home or study from home, and the fact that most of our universities are grossly underprepared for EdTech, because using Zoom is not EdTech. And in fact, we ourselves have invested crores in a platform called Skills Alpha, which is primarily an AI-enabled platform that actually makes people learn in a very personalized manner. So I think those two are big opportunities. Health tech, and I'll of course lean on Bomi for this, but I mean, if you look at health tech, every aspect of health is being funded. There's telemedicine is being funded, 3D printing, because for remote healthcare, I mean, 3D printing of components, spares, bandages, everything is possible in remote ones. I mean, if you look at the whole Ayushman Bharat initiative, I mean, the biggest problem was the primary healthcare centers. It was so badly staffed. And then, as Bomi was saying, the government has not really understood how to use the better hospitals like Ruby, etc., as good tertiary healthcare centers. So I think the funding will happen, but you need to find a problem which is solvable. And like any startup, I mean, how do startups get funded? People look at 5 different aspects. One is the power of the idea. Is it unique and innovative? The second is, what's your business model? How effectively and in a most cost-effective manner can you get it to market? The third is, do you have a team or is just yourself talking your language? The fourth is capital. You have the ability to raise multiple rounds of funding, which is why I think the question you're asking. And the fifth is, can you get customers? Do we know exactly what the customer is looking for? If you can answer these 5 questions, you'll make that happen. So whether it's PPE, whether it is any other health tech, I think those questions you must answer to make that happen. Bomi, what do you think? I mean, what do you think are the opportunities for people coming up with new equipment, new PPE?
I'll tell you, Ganesh, there is one thing which everybody is losing focus on. COVID is a temporary thing. It's not going to be there permanent. You're not going to wear a mask all your life. You're not going to be sanitizing your hands all your life. It's for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. I don't see anybody setting up new industry or making new investments for COVID cure or to handle COVID. I really don't see that happening. Because the day the vaccine comes out, which may be December, January, whatever it is, the whole scenario will change. The way the whole world changed with COVID coming in, the world will change and go back to normal. Already projections are there that your airline traffic will be back to pre-COVID days in 31st December. In fact, this is a commitment that has been given to the airline industry. 31st December, we will be back at normal. So investing in huge way to set up equipment like today, face masks. I mean, there are enough garment manufacturing companies who can start making face masks. And that is what is happening today. Today, how do you think suddenly so many face masks and PPEs are coming? Nobody has set up a factory. You can't set up a factory in 2-3 months and start manufacturing these items. You do your product mix, which they will go back to garments once the thing gets over. Because please remember, whatever you invest today may not be there as a requirement post-December, presuming that the vaccine comes out in December. So you have to be very precautious and cautious about it. Don't go overboard and invest and set up things. Like I'll give you an example, a PPE kit in the month of January, in the month of March and April was costing 1,500 rupees. Today it costs 250 rupees. N95 mask, which was selling at 250 rupees, is 25 rupees today. So if you see all the equipment that is used for COVID care, March price, April price and August price is 10%. It's fallen 90%. So please understand that. So I really would not recommend people going and investing fresh in industry to tackle the COVID problem.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
No, that's a great point. And if I may add very facetiously, hoping that there are no children on this panel. I mean, there's a WhatsApp joke which says for the first time in 3 months, more alcohol has gone to your hands than to your mouth. And that
very true. That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Last.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Neha,
yeah, we do have time for a couple of questions only. So I'll put in a question, and this is the common question which Dr. Banerjee, you can take first, and then Naveen sir, you as well. What are the trends that you see emerging in the field of telemedicine? And, how do you think that this entire market around medicine, online commerce go about? So Dr. Banerjee, over to you.
I think we need to train ourselves, and we need to collaborate. As I said repeatedly, the collaboration is the most important part. So we need to, and that is going to last even after the COVID. So we need to develop this telemedicine and connect with the smaller nursing homes, smaller towns, the doctors practicing out there. There are fantastic doctors working out there. They don't have the technology. So, and once the connection is done properly, the telemedicine is done properly, then the patients can come to the bigger hospitals only for a specific procedure, for something like a coronary angiography. The entire pre-workup can be done in a hospital, suppose in Baramati for that matter. And then they can come to Pune and get the coronary angiography done. Second is the digital signature part. When we prescribe a medicine, the digital signature has to be recognized or has to be audited. Something has to be done about the digital signature, so that the pharmacist knows that's the signature that's the digital signature from the doctor, qualified doctor, and the medicine can be dispensed to the patient.
Sneha, can I butt in over here?
Sure, sir.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because I've been running and been very passionate with telemedicine since the last 1.5 to 2 years. Now, you'll ask me, why were you so keen on telemedicine? Because I always saw this as the future, for 2 reasons. One reason is the traffic conditions in Pune and every city have become such that it has become impossible for doctors and patients to come to meet doctors or doctors to go and meet patients. Earlier, if you remember, there used to be time when doctors used to go to Baramati, Karad, Satara. They've all stopped going. It's impossible. They can't move within Pune itself. See the amount of time they take to travel from place A to place B within Pune itself. And a doctor is like a taxi meter. Only when the meter is down does he earn money. Sitting there traveling from A to B, he doesn't earn anything. Please understand that. So that was one of the main reasons that we took up telemedicine. Secondly, access to a top-notch consultant for a man in Baramati or Satara or a villager is impossible. He doesn't have a chance in hell to consult a top-notch cardiologist or a gynecologist sitting in Baramati. Because the consultant is never going to go there. He's never going to be able to fit into a place here. So this was the other thing, is an outreach program so that our top consultants could consult with the last man in the village. And that has been the real success that we have faced in telemedicine. Coincidentally, COVID has now come in, and so we were ready to handle it.
Thank you, sir. Naveen, sir, your views on this?
I'll take it from my clinical business where we do this. I think we don't take it as telemedicine, but what has happened is, we use patients. They would go to, like Ruby Hall is one of our sites. So every time I would do a thing, I just need the patient to come up, just would give, the PI, just giving him the PI means the principal investigator, just giving him the medicine up. What has happened now with this is, with the digital thing that has come in, you just have a small app. You ask the person to, everyone has an Android phone today or an Apple. We don't say Apple for these people, but Android. So it's a very simple, we just download that app. So we've used that as a thing where you as your Bomi research said, we just cut down the person unnecessarily traveling, taking the stress of coming out 15 days just to come and take 2 strips of medicine for the next 15 days. It's only on the follow-up time that we need him to come up. Even there, we've tried to go, we've had videos coming in. People have now allowed, the regulator has allowed us to take videos and keep it. So I think we've been able to use that technology very well, where, unnecessarily, we've taken out the stress and all this from the patients. That's been one of the biggest part, as I would say, by force, the COVID has made us do it. But it's going to be, I think, going to change the way we really run our trials. A lot of the trials, will move towards having digital things incorporated. So I think I would not say for treating patients, but for at least compliance, this thing would be used a lot now in future. E-commerce, not my field. I'm not the right person to speak on it, I'd say.
Thank you, sir. A lot of interesting and engaging questions coming up on our chat as well. Ganesh, this question is for you. A lot of our participants have asked us about, funding and VCs. How's the entrepreneurship ecosystem looking like, especially when the valuations of any startup might not be exactly to the expectations. So could you just shed some light upon that? And we also have an interesting follow-up questions. What's the trend that you see when it comes to employment, especially in this work from home context in tier 2 cities like say Ranchi, Jamshedpur, Patna? So in general, tier 2 cities, Indore.
See, let me answer that question for you first. And the second question, see, you have to be prepared to slog it. I mean, many of you have this 2K in your names, which was very amusing for me and Bomi, because we didn't first understand what 2K is. But obviously, it's people who maybe started after 2000 and graduated. You've got to rough it out, guys. I mean, don't take easy options like finding an easy job. Oh, मुझे पटना में नौकरी देंगे, मैं पटना वापस जा रहा हूँ, hometown. Is no way to build your career. I mean, all of us. I mean, I remember when I graduated from NITI. I mean, obviously, my sister was in Bombay. The easiest thing was when I joined Crompton Green was to join Bombay. I went and asked the HR saying that where is my career advancement going to be fastest? And the guy said, look, if you're going to move to Nasik, when none of our senior managers want to move, and that time Nasik was docs. So 3 of us trainees moved to Nasik. Within a year, I was running production planning, materials, and computer systems. He was running the whole of HR, and there are many jokes about how a Malayali in Nasik could not even speak Marathi, and he was running HR with industrial relations. But we took it up, and I mean, our careers soared because of that. So just because it's in your hometown, for heaven's sake, get out of your hometown. I mean, for the first 15 years of your career, work anywhere but your hometown. I mean, take risks. And I think Naveen made a fantastic point. The day you get comfortable is a day when you must get out. Look at Bomi from Tata Motors completely. And if you're always in a comfort zone, you will settle at a certain level. You got to keep challenging yourself, keep making changes, which automatically segues into startups. Why do people do startups in India? 90% unfortunately do startups because they got fired from their job. And Modi has been going around and saying, don't ask for jobs, create jobs. And we all believe that thing. If you don't have a great idea, do not do a startup. I'm sorry to say this, but the worst startups are those who people say that, look, Binny Bansal did a great job in Flipkart. I will also do an e-commerce startup out of my garage. Sorry, you are bound to fail. Okay, because Binny Bansal is a very, very smart Marwadi. And he knew exactly when to copy Amazon, when to do something different. My CEO who runs my company in Pune, she worked for Binny Bansal for 5 years. And it's amazing the kind of entrepreneurship the man has. So you do a startup when you genuinely believe you have a fantastic idea which can rock the world. And even then, just a fantastic idea. Remember, I told you business model, team, customer access, capital, all that is important. So make sure that you have a great idea, then startups will succeed. Is enough money available. Today, I have most of my friends are in venture capital, private equity, mezzanine capital, venture debt, you name it. So if you have a great idea, write to me, I'll connect you to the right guy. But believe me, 99 out of 100 startup ideas get rejected because it has no legs. It's just somebody's idea which will last for 6 months and then it will be killed by competition, or some American company will come and say, oh, this is irrelevant. So I'm saying, be very careful. There's enough money available, but it's smart capital. It's smart capital goes to smart people. So there are few good or great entrepreneurs, and those are funded by everybody. I mean, you can see one man called Baiju. His education startup is ranking at $13 billion, and he has Shah Rukh Khan appearing on television every day. But for every Baiju, don't forget there are 1 million startups who try to do edtech and couldn't succeed. So, I mean, I'm sorry to be a little downer, but I mean, they're all mentors for you. Most of you are all of you are from BIT Mesra. So be very clear that this is the career I want to build. I mean, my company is called 5F World. You know what 5F stands for? It's fast, focused, flexible, friendly, and fun. Because my belief after working for 35 years is this is the only mantra that succeeds. And flexible is the most important. In your own mindset, be flexible. Make sure that you're able to adapt very quickly when there are opportunities. At the same time, don't pivot your startup every 3 years. So you have to have a focus on what you want to achieve. And then in your career, in your company, in your startup, make it happen. So sorry for the long answer, but I just want to make sure that nobody takes unnecessary panic decisions in COVID. And as Bomi rightly said, and as Naveen rightly said, 1 year from now, I promise you the vaccine will be there and we'll say, हाँ, COVID के ज़माने में हम लोग ये करते थे. It's gone. Do not create businesses for COVID. I mean, make a quick buck in COVID, that's fine. But do not create long-term. Long-term, keep thinking about your career and what you want to do in the next 20 years of your life.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think we've had a very, very interesting, engaging and insightful 1 hour. I could hardly figure out how it passed by. Thank you so much to all our panelists for proffering their pearls of wisdom today. And I think BITOSA Pune and BITOSA Global would have to do a follow-up on this because we have just so many questions unanswered and great enthusiasm from everyone. With that, I will hand it over to Gautam Haldar, sir, to propose the vote of thanks.
Hello everyone. Once again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Gautam Haldar from BIT Mechanical Engineering 85-89 batch. I am currently the president of BITOSA Pune chapter. I hope you all have liked the webinar and it has given a lot of insight, a lot of things to look for and derive a lot of value out of it. On behalf of BITOSA Global as well as BITOSA Pune, it is my honor and privilege to have such a knowledgeable and esteemed panel like Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, Dr. Colonel Banerjee, Mr. Bomi Bhote, Mr. Naveen Sharma with us for this evening, and we are sincerely thankful to them for sharing their knowledge and experience. We are thankful to all the participants who have registered for this event and attended, and hope this webinar has given them some takeaways which will be useful for their future going forward. I know there are several relevant questions. There are many more questions we could not answer because of the paucity of time, but some of the answers have been given by our experts. The webinar would not have been possible without the relentless effort and the support of all the volunteers across the world. As you know, we are an alumni organization run by the volunteers, and there has been a whole lot of effort which has gone into organizing this discussion. It would not be fair on my part if I don't mention some of the names who have been at the forefront and got maximum number of registration. Some of the names are Prem Sam, Neha Vatsala, Neha Gupta, Piyush Patil, Swati Jain, Siddharth, Sneha Ranjan, Sumit Borkar, Chandrasekhar, Vishnu, Faiz, Valmiki, Prince, Vandana, Prashun, and of course from the global team like BITOSA Global team, Mr. Neeraj Charan, Mr. Arup Jutsi, Mr. Rahul Maheshwari, Mr. Varun Pandey, Mr. Abhishek Sinha, Mr. Ramesh Agrawal, and Mr. Ram Mohan Agrawal. Of course, my sincere thanks to all the BITOSA chapters across India and the globe. Without their effort, without the effort from the BITOSA Global Communication team, this would not have been possible. I'll be extremely sorry if I missed out any names, which is not intentional. We are also pleased to inform that we had a great number of registration because of the great effort by all of you. 620 plus registration is not a joke. It is an all-time record in all the BITOSA event. Kudos to that team. Should you have any further question, please feel free to reach out to us. Do let us know your feedback on the same. Stay tuned to this space for the next webinar. Let's make this BITOSA an ever-growing community of success and doing something better for the society. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Bye. Thanks for the PPT, Vishnu. Thanks to the team behind it. Bye all.
Thanks, man.
Hello, thank you.
Nice
Thank
Sunday.
you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.